How are y'all doing today? Good. Good. Let's get a little bit more energy. How are y'all doing today? Good. Good. Today I'm here to share my presentation with you titled Chapters. It's going to cover roughly the past 10 years of my life, give or take a little bit of time. And there's going to be many themes that we cover, some being identity, leadership, community, and more. All right, we got 4 chapters that we are going to be covering. Chapter 1 is titled Awakening. Chapter 2 is Understanding. Chapter 3 is Action, and Chapter 4 is Inspiration. Within all of these chapters, there's going to be some poetry, there's going to be some speeches, there's going to be some moments where some of y'all can get up and get involved in order to explain this story and for y'all to stay engaged throughout the presentation. Before we get into Chapter 1, though, we do have some rules. So how many of y'all have ever been to an open mic night or a poetry event? Let me see your hands. Okay, we got a few. How many of y'all have ever been to a concert? Let me see your hands up. All right, we got some more. So if you've been to any of those events or just seen them in general, you know that it's not just you sitting in the back, standing on the wall. You got to engage. You got to enjoy it. You got to give energy back in order to have a good time. That's what we're here to do today. So first and foremost, if you like something at any time in the presentation, you can snap. Let me hear you snap. Everybody snap. Perfect. If you really like something, you can clap. Let me hear you clap. Nice. We have some call outs as well. So if you feel something, if it's in your soul, you can say, Let me hear you say, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. If you get excited, if you want to make some noise, you can say, yeah. Let me hear you say, yeah, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Beautiful. And this one is my favorite. My friend Danielle taught me this at Central Michigan University. If you really feel something, if you don't feel like it could have been any better, if you just at the top of it, you can say, get nasty. But you got to say it with your chest. You got to say that, in there. Let me hear you say, get nasty on 3. 1, 2, 3. Get nasty. Thank you. Here we go. All right. So if you don't like something, that's cool too. Not everything is for everybody, but I ask, just like our parents taught us, don't say nothing at all. If I get done with a poem and y'all don't like it and everybody's quiet, I will recognize that I need to cut that out for next time, or I need to rearrange to make it a little bit smoother. Cool? Everybody got that? Yeah. Beautiful. All right, we will get into Chapter 1, titled Awakening. The timeline was during my high school experience, mainly in Mount Clemens in Michigan, at Mount Clemens High School, and a little bit into my college experience at Central Michigan University. I realized that people were treating me and some of my friends a little bit different. Sometimes it was negative, sometimes it was positive. For example, sometimes we'd be walking down the roads going to a friend's house, and someone would roll down their car window and yell out names at us or yell out slurs. We suspected it had to do with the color of our skin. We didn't know them, they didn't know us. There'd be other times where we'd be high schoolers going to the mall, having a good time, walking in one store and then the other store, and then we noticed a security guard slowly entered the same stores just after us. We noticed those things. We also noticed at a more systematic level that our school had free lunch, and it was amazing. We loved it. Every day we go to lunch and get free lunch. None of the other schools around us have free lunch. And so we found out that the reason for that was because 80% of our students lived under the poverty line. So then every meal was a little bit bittersweet after that. We also noticed that although we were right near downtown Mount Clemens and we had a lot of people in the city of Mount Clemens, we only had 37 people we graduated with. Whereas if you drove a mile in either direction on the same exact street, you would end up at 2 different schools that were predominantly white, graduating with 500, 600, 700 students. But our student body being 85% people of color, we didn't have those numbers for some reason. So we noticed these things, we felt these things, and at times it made it feel like our community and the greater community was isolated. And being a biracial boy at a predominantly black school, other times I felt even more alone for other reasons. And so I found music, I found poetry, I found speakers who shared similar experiences as me. The Kendrick Lamars, the J. Coles, the Joey Badasses. As they shared stories that were so similar to mine, I realized that there was other people like me and like my community, not just here, but around the country, if not around the world. And so I decided that I too should pick up a pen and put it to paper and begin to emulate them in order to also express myself, to share my experiences, to share my identities and passions, and most importantly, make sure that nobody else that I knew felt alone like I did before. And with that, we will lead into my first poem for y'all, titled, My City. Fear. Everybody has them. They've told me so many. Planes, sharks, darkness, being ghosted, aloneness, living an empty life, death. But I don't fear that. My hometown, my birthplace, the people that raised me. I fear of forgetting my city. A place where one street separates the neighborhood from the hood. Where 50% of the residents is pale and say things are going good, and the other half live by the mentality of, I wish a brother would. In the suburban city of hoops, Millibro's band serving scoops, a Superman Sunday waffle cone, that's my roots. Curveball in the streets, riding bikes from police, Gus's Coney Island chili fries with the cheese, that's my city. I appreciate it if you say it with me. Clem Nation, people that do not need your pity, that's my town. Where Butch and the Bathers will throw down, and the king blood runs deep. Y'all best respect the crown. That's my home. R.I.P. Don, Destin, Dad, Uncle Mel, Trey, you're not alone. We've come a long ways from kids to being grown. I've been gone for what feels like way too long. My G's got freed and I celebrated alone. That's my fam. Where Javon's catching jams, D's hitting threes, and TCB's making plans, that's my soul. Class reunion at the Rec Bowl. Fireworks in the sky of July from the gazebo. That's me. I really wish others could see the Clem through my eyes and how it's molded me. That's my drive. Taught me what it means to be alive. Put respect on my city. That's the reason that I strive. Put the shoes on my feet. The gang's rolling deep. If you asking for a verse, that'd be a Bath City beat. Don't ask me to repeat. We only got the heat rocking the mic ain't a thing when you born in MC. You will never catch me sleep. To the people from the streets, at a table in a seat, that's everybody eats. I said a plate, fork, and a seat, a whole rack of meat. You won't never catch me sleep till everybody eats. I said I won't never count no sheep. So my homies from the street got some J's on their feet, a table in a seat, a whole rack of meat, like a whole freaking feast. I said, you won't ever catch me sleep until everybody eats. Thank you. All right. Thank you. I heard some I heard some get nasties. I heard a little bit of everything in there. That poem, that piece came from, I was taking high schoolers on backpacking trips in Colorado, like deep in the mountains in the middle of nowhere, where if something happens, you can't call 911. You got to press a button for a helicopter to fly out and come and save you. And so I had been away from home a bunch of times before, but that was the first time I was ever away for an extended period of time and didn't have anybody else around like me. And so I got homesick, and I was like, I need to write. I need to write about who I am. I need to write about what makes me what. I need to write about my city. And that's where that piece came from. This next piece is titled Trailblazing. It comes from, like I was saying, in Colorado, I was lucky to have great mentors in my life that allowed me to have a really positive relationship with nature and wilderness and going out to the woods and all those types of things. And so as a youth, I went all around the state of Michigan backpacking and camping with our groups and things like that. And it allowed me when I grew up to feel confident to go to the national parks from Florida all the way out to California to the top of Michigan and everywhere. And so I've been to 25 national parks now. I plan to go to all 63 within my life. I want to go live on all the different continents. I want to do everything. I want to see it all. And I love nature because of it. And so when I go to the national parks and I go spend time in nature, I notice that there's not a lot of people that look like me. And there's very few people of color in general. And so I was like, I need to take pen to paper again. I need to write about these things that people haven't seen before. I need to write about all these amazing and beautiful experiences that I'm having. I need to write about what I'm seeing and what I'm doing so others that look like me know that this is an option. And so I wrote Trailblazing. I walked with the clouds today. I stood at the summit and smiled as bright as the sun, as they say. I grasped the gold out the air some way. I put it in my skin, energized, melanin works this way. I'm steady chasing waterfalls. I used to laugh at my friends who swam in shorts and drawers, but now I forgot my swimsuit, so I follow suit. As this river washes the sin from my skin, I reboot. I've admired trees whose age is measured by centuries. Ancient giants immortalize me in your memories. I've traveled the canyon as a king, swam in a thunderous spring, explored the secrets of the world. For many, this is a dream. As a mixed race kid born in the burbs, I'd never guess I'd regularly see things unexplained by words. I've carried my head so high, I've seen shadows of clouds casted upon valleys I was raised, navigating forests and mountains like unexplored concrete blocks when under rage. From Mount Clemens to Mount Pleasant, ain't seen a summit in those lives. To Mount Fuji, the Great Smokies, Rocky Mountains changed my life. I went from street lights to starry nights, car engines to crickets, man-made to Mammoth Cave, Steph Curry to Stephen Bishop, slot machines to slot canyons, sand boxes to sand dunes, red bricks to yellow stones, dirt beaches to dry Tortugas. Was a bad man to Badlands, carved my way through Canyonlands, climbed the burnt orange walls of Bryce Canyon, heard the big breast mountains they call Grand Tetons, climbed Higgins Bridge to spot the Capitol Reefs on, took the arches south, hitting potholes the size of Grand Canyons. This Shenandoah's old rag, seeing Congaree's floodlands, ain't seen nothing as crazy as Sequoia's General Sherman. Ate Better Made in Everglades, Fagos in Biscayne Bay, took my new Ford to the new gorge, but Clem towns where my heart stays. Watched angels land in Zion, climbed the cracks of Cuyahoga, swam in the Atlantic, drove the country, gained exposure, did my toes in the Pacific, cruised the country east to west, north to south, top to bottom, zigzag, right to left. I'm 25 alive, seen 23 parks in my time, plan to see all 63 in my life with my own eyes. Some people dream of the things I've seen 3 and 4 times. I'm on my trail, black boy blazing, writing my own signs. Thank you. That leads us to our conclusion for chapter 1. That chapter 1 titled Awakening, I learned that I'm not alone, that others have these experiences. There's ways for me to put my experiences into the world and express myself and to share them with others so others know that they are not alone. That brings us into chapter 2. Chapter 2 is titled Understanding. Now, chapter 2 takes place during my middle time at Central Michigan University when I was away at college. Through my education at university, I learned that those previous experiences that I had in high school in chapter 1, they already had names and terms connected to them. I learned that whenever so many people live in a city, but all of the black students end up going to one school and only a few of them make it to graduation, and then the few that decide to go to university or college are unprepared, and even fewer make it to college or university graduation, that's called tracking, when the people in power make sure that people from certain demographics and certain communities end up where they want them to end up. I learned whenever I would go and speak to my professors in very proper and well-pronunciated English, and then I'd go hang out with my friends and speak in fun and flowery slang, that's called code switching. I learned that whenever I'd go and speak to the big wigs on campus, the presidents, the vice presidents, and those who could give me internships, it wasn't enough for me to just look and try and be professional. I had to know how they see me through their eyes, especially because of my race. That's called double consciousness. In this new world of education, which led to me understanding a lot more of what was going on, I came to a question. How will I now operate in this new world? And what is my new philosophy? That brings me to a speech I prepared for y'all, an award-winning speech titled Beyond Heroes. I remember exactly where I stood on Monday, January 18th, 2016 at 3:15 p.m. Attempting to head to the library to do homework, I stood at the crosswalk as the Martin Luther King Jr. Day March filled the road with energy, chants, and power. I recall several members waving and calling for me to join. However, I thought to myself, look at all those people. What do I have to add? What difference could an individual possibly make? I now look back at young Matt standing at that crosswalk, allowing this monumental moment to just march by. I wanted to ask him why he didn't join. Does he not know the power he holds, and what homework could not be procrastinated on for at least one more day? I remember feeling that I didn't know much about Martin Luther King Jr. I remember feeling that I wasn't black enough to stand with others who really struggled. Mainly that I could never surmount to be a social justice champion. So I ought to wait for some hero to come save us all. Today, I look back at that crosswalk and resonate with a lesson from Dr. King's 1965 Selma speech. He stated, "If a man happens to be 36 years old, some great truths stand before the doors of his life, some great opportunity to stand up for that which is right. A man may be afraid he will lose his job, or afraid he will get shot, or beat down by state troopers, and he may go on to live until he is 80. He is just as dead at 36 as he would be at 80. The cessation of breathing in one's life is merely the belated announcements of an early death of the spirit." As Dr. King described, I was that young man suffering from a dying spirit. That freshman year, I was lucky to have a person who assisted in the resuscitation of my stagnant soul. My RA, a young man who was also mixed race. He took me under his wing and began to break down terms and concepts. We discussed microaggressions, police brutality, being black at a predominantly white institution, and so on. I began to realize that I and others alike are indeed affected by injustices, and that we have the ability to make a difference. The greatest lesson he led me to was that those who I viewed as heroes and champions, they were just like him. People who positively impacted others' lives. They were nothing more than people who raised their voice against injustices and acted when others needed assistance. I thought to myself, these compassionate people who are already carrying the burdens of racism, sexism, homophobia, Islamophobia, and so much more. So for me to slack off and expect them to solve my problems as well is completely unacceptable and unacceptable and irresponsible. I realize that this idea of waiting for a hero when there are more than enough capable individuals to enact change was a lie. I decided that I would no longer wait for a hero nor look for some mythical champion. I would be an individual who raised their voice against injustices, acted when others needed assistance, and positively impacted others' lives. Yeah. This promise stuck with me into my junior year, where I sat in class in Anspaugh Hall. This week's topic was childhood racism. My favorite professor, a sweet old white lady, opened class with what I thought to be a familiar nursery rhyme. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Catch a N-word by his toe. If he hollers, let him go. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. It seemed as if she made sure to pronounce every single syllable. I scanned the room only to find a sea of white faces. They were looking at me as if they wondered if I could calmly tread water like them. The waves of confusion forced the air out of my lungs as the professor stated the N-word a second time. My face red, then purple, rage engulfing my entire being. The N-word was stated a third time. The N-word was stated again and again and again until I found myself in the isolated depths of darkness. I instinctively gasped for air, only to have fear force its way into my lungs and seize control. I panicked mid-class, grabbed my belongings, and escaped. However, I knew I was going to have to endure this all again. It was only mid-semester. I faced fear, rage, and confusion until the semester was over, and then realized I was going to have to face it all again every time I seen her in the hallways or across campus or on the streets. I could not continue to bear these overwhelming emotions. So fearfully, I approached her and we planned a meeting. The day arrived and we sat down in her office. She shared that after I walked out of class, she stopped and said, "I believe I seriously hurt Matthew and realized I may be hurting others as well." She shared that she had been using the N-word as a part of her teaching approach for over a decade. She shared that due to my reaction, she realized she needed to remove the N-word from her teaching approach and adapt her teaching curriculum to reflect some well-needed changes. As our conversation came to a conclusion, an insurmountable weight was released from our hearts. A positive impact made to an educational institution at the university level due to two individuals seeking to understand one another. No heroes, just an ordinary person who raised their voice against an injustice. This promise of mine to speak, act, and impact was brought home in the summer of 2020. In the midst of a police pursuit, I found myself standing only feet away from a cornered young black high school boy. With nowhere else to run, the boy froze and a white middle-aged officer roared, "Lay on your effing stomach and put your hands behind your head." Scowling and mouthing off, the boy slowly dropped to one knee and then the other, following the command. Cautiously circling around, the officer stood over the laid-out boy, then quickly dropped to one knee, digging into the boy's back. Wincing in pain, the boy was swiftly cuffed. I then heard tires screeching. I turned to see a squad car jumping the curb only feet from where I stood. Two officers burst from the doors. The white middle-aged officer's face turned bright red and animated as he repeatedly thrust his knee into the boy's back, all the while screaming, "Where did you hide the effing shoes? Where the F is your buddy? Don't give me that BS." Sensing another sharp knee on its way, the boy jerked his body and rolled to the side. Reacting to the boy's quick movement, the officer grabbed his gun. My heart sank. Without a thought, my hands openly raised into the air, my voice boomed, "Chill!" Everybody froze. The officer looking at me with a face of regret, holstered his gun and rose to his feet. The boy's tense body went from a state of panic to a sense of calm. The other officers assisted in standing the boy up and placing him in the police car. As the boy entered the car, he looked to me one last time and nodded. No champions, just an ordinary person who acted when another could use some assistance. There is no perfect way to combat social injustices when they occur. And there are no prerequisites for standing up for others when they could use some assistance. These insurmountable goals that we fabricate and place upon ourselves can be detrimental to our willingness to act or speak when our fellow beings need it most. I ask that you free yourselves of perfection, because lying awake at night thinking of the flawless rebuttal has not helped anyone. It is okay to be afraid, to doubt yourself, to question what difference an individual could possibly make. I've stood at that crosswalk as well. We are discussing the dismantleization of international systems that oppress and discriminate against groups of individuals. Those are some big old scary words. It is an enormous and frightening task, but we must act and speak when our fellow beings need it most. That is what makes a difference. The most effective move oppression has ever made is convincing us that our voice isn't significant, that we can't make a change, that we aren't relevant in this world that we are in. These systems of injustices are a collage of many cancers, concepts, and cruelties. These dangerous beliefs are produced by a mosaic of malice, manipulation, and ignorance. These unjust systems and dangerous beliefs did not come from any one specific source. They came from many different people, from countless different places, and from several different times throughout our history. That being said, we cannot expect for there to be any one approach, any one idea, or any one person to cure these innumerable diseases that are plaguing our communities. We need all of you to help. We must share ideas and experiences, speak up against oppression, and save not only ourselves, but all others who are affected. We all have a voice. We are all significant in this world. We all can accomplish the greatness of positively impacting a fellow being's life. We do not need a savior. We do not need a hero. We need help. We do not need some social justice champion. We need you. Thank you. Yeah. All right, that leads us to our summary of chapter 2, the chapter of understanding. That now that I understood there was reasons I had those experiences in chapter 1, I needed to come up with my new philosophy, my new understanding of how I would act and disrupt anytime I saw an injustice. That leads us into chapter 3, and I will take a water break really quick. For chapter 3, we have action. Before we get into the chapter, I do need 5 volunteers. I'll let y'all know what we're doing in a minute. So if we get 5 volunteers, I'll point to you and then call out your name so I can write your name down. Give me 1 second to get my pencil. All right. I saw a hand right here first. What's your name? Mason. Yes, sir. Hands. Right here. Isaiah. Let's get one right here. Geo. Let's see one over here. What's your name? Alex. And one more. Let's try and get someone in the back. I see you snapping. What's your name? What is that? Avery? All right, I got you, Avery. Thank you for all of our volunteers. I'll let you know what we're doing in a minute. So right now, just sit tight and enjoy the experience. So, chapter 3 is titled Action. This takes place during my final years at Central Michigan University, my last 2 years. I realized that reactionary approach that I cemented in chapter 2, that act and disrupt anytime I saw injustice, was good, but I felt like it wasn't enough. I felt like there was something more that I needed to add. So I learned the importance of preventative action and supportive action. The idea of, rather than waiting for someone to run into a challenge, run into a barrier, and then helping them, which is reactionary, we could set it up so they don't have to run into that barrier at all. We don't have to have those barriers. We can already have ways around them, over them, through them, or whatever that may be, in order to prevent these challenges from happening. So, with strategies to support and uplift people from disadvantaged communities like mine, so they can begin to operate at a more optimal and even playing field as other communities. So I came up with the idea of the Everybody Eats Scholarship. It's run for 4 years now. We've raised over $20,000, awarded roughly 40 students financial assistance, and 60% of those have been first-generation college students. So, with that being said, I now need everybody to participate. If you could please close your eyes and open your imaginations. We're going to take you on a trip. So here we are. We have arrived in Mount Clemens, Michigan, about 30 minutes north of Detroit. We are in the high school cafeteria. The cafeteria is dressed up for some type of celebration. The centerpiece at your table, you can see it has some sparkles. It's got some flowers. It's got some balloons tied up to it. As you look around the rooms, you see streamers and sparkles, and you notice there's some misplaced balloons because somebody tied them wrong to the centerpieces. As you look up to the front of the room, you see me at the podium with the MC logo right in the center of that podium. Behind me is Butch the Bather, the mascot, a bunch of little circles on the backdrop behind me. To my right, you see a long table with a fancy table skirt on it, and you see some medals and awards and cords and ribbons and plaques and so on. As you look around at the people at the table, you see your family, moms, dads, uncles, cousins, who have been cheering for you since day one, since been holding you since you was only this big. You have teachers, principals, staff that have been helping you get towards graduation for the past 4 years. And as you look around, you notice that you see each other, yourselves, students who have worked day in and day out, over breaks, over weekends, in the evenings, working towards graduation, working towards all of these awards that you've earned on this table that you're about to receive. You can open your eyes. Hello, Mount Clemens High School students, family, and friends. How are y'all doing today? Good. My name is Matthew King. I am the creator and the director of the Everybody Eats Scholarship. I am 28 years old, and I graduated right here from Mount Clemens, Michigan in the class of 2015. I wanted to thank all of you for inviting me to this year's annual academic and success scholarship dinner. But first and foremost, we need to congratulate our students just for one attending school. Attending school as a full-time student is equivalent to having a full-time job. Also, working towards graduation, which is the number one preventative towards adulthood poverty. And for achieving all of these academic achievements that we have up on this table, can we please give our students a round of applause? Thank you. So before we give out these scholarships today, we need to go over the history of Everybody Eats, why I'm here, where it comes from, and hopefully inspire other people to do things similar to it. So, the history. In 2020, COVID-19 hit the entire world, but it really affected the United States in 2020. Countless deaths. Systems were upended, including the educational system, and we were completely unsure of our futures. During this time, there was also the lynching of Ahmaud Arbery, a 25-year-old black man going for a jog in Georgia. And shortly after that was the murder of George Floyd, a black man in Minneapolis at 46 years old, strangled in the streets by a police officer. I had a history of protesting at Central Michigan University. I had marched for women's rights, for blacks' rights, for LGBT rights, for Muslims' rights, and I had volunteered all over, learning and gaining experiences to support. During this time, the Black Lives Matter and other organizations had the opportunity to speak up and share their thoughts on how we need to change our world. So I was at a crossroads. Do I stay home because the university is shut down from COVID and I'm staying with my mom? Do I stay home and avoid catching COVID and do nothing? Or do I go out and organize and march as I had been doing for so long? I decided that I needed to stay home. I needed to protect my family, but there had to be something that I could do. And so I thought on what really helped me over the past years, and I realized it was scholarships. At an event just like this, when I was a senior getting ready to graduate, I won a bunch of scholarships that not only allowed me to go get my degree, but also allowed me to volunteer around the country and around the world, seeing other communities, seeing other struggles, and learning how to help communities that need support just like ours. So, with the idea of a scholarship, I typed out all of my ideas to organize. I posted everything on all of my different social medias. I messaged everybody in my phone, and when I say everybody, I mean everybody. I was texting cousins that was like 6th and 7th cousins that was like cool, but like, how are we family? I was texting coaches, old soccer coaches from youth leagues that were like great job, Matt, but like, how did you even get my number? I was texting old girlfriends being like, please donate. And they were like, great idea, but like, why do you still got my number? I messaged everyone saying, if you believe in me and if you believe in this idea, please donate. I put $500 of my own money aside. I was still signing up for scholarships as a college student. And so I'd win a scholarship and put some money aside for the Everybody Eats scholarship for my hometown. As I was still filling out applications for those other scholarships, I was copy and pasting important lines and adding them into my own application to make sure I had everything we needed. After that, I made sure to reach out to teachers, principals, and the superintendent in order to make sure we could get this in the school, in the high school. And over 3 months, because of family, friends, and strangers, we raised $3,500. And in 2021, at the age of 23, I was able to pass out my first 7 scholarships to 7 Mount Clemens students, all planning to be first-generation students, first-generation college students, as the first ever Everybody Eats award group. But however, today, we are here to pass out more scholarships. This year, we have raised 5 scholarships for $1,000 each, for a grand total of $5,000, because we care about kids from the Clem. And that is just a small glimpse of the power that our community has. And that is the care we have for our students and for our community. So I'm now going to get ready to call out the winners of this scholarship for this year. If you are a winner, you know, because I already sent you an email, you already know about this. You'll come up, I'll call your name so there's no miscommunications or anything like that. But you'll come on up, you'll come shake my hand, I'll give you the scholarship, and you'll stand up here, and then we'll take a picture at the end with all of our winners, all right? Cool, let's make sure we cheer for our scholarship winners whenever they come on up. So first and foremost, we have Mason. Come on up, Mason. Great job this year. Awesome, awesome. Here is your scholarship, sir. Hey. You can come stand right up here with us. All right, next up we have Isaiah. Come on up, Isaiah. Great job this year. Thank you. There goes your scholarship money, your $1,000, sir. Next up we have Gio. Gio, get on up here. Congratulations. Here is your $1,000 scholarship. Come on up. Next we have Alex. Alex, come on up. Congratulations, sir. Great essay this year, great essay. Also, here is your $1,000. Go ahead and hold that up. Great job. And last but not least, we have Avery. Come on up, Avery. Great job this year, Avery. Of course. Here goes your $1,000. You come on up here. Can I get somebody to take a picture with us real quick? Take a picture for us real quick. Anybody? Come on, get up here. And I'm gonna stand right in the middle of y'all. I'm gonna split it right here. Oh, it's all right, we'll get it later, don't worry about it. All right, let's smile for the camera. Everybody say, everybody eats on 3. 1, 2, 3. Everybody eats. Good job. Congratulations, everybody, this year. Of course. Oh, yep, of course. All right, you can head back to your seats. Keep it. Of course. All right. And with that is the scene. Good job, everybody. Thank you for participating. Give yourselves a round of applause. So that is what the Everybody Eats Scholarship looks like. Obviously, it's not in a place like this or anything like that. We have our little cafeteria we do it at. But that's what it looks like. That's what we do. And that leads us to our summary of Chapter 3, Action, where I realized that action isn't just about reacting, but about creating supportive and preventative strategies to make sure we can provide more optimal and even playing fields for others that also deserve it. That wraps up Chapter 3, and we'll move into our final chapter, Chapter 4, titled Inspiration. All right, so Chapter 4, Inspiration. I realized that reactionary action is great, that supportive action is important, but there needed to be more. I was still missing something. It's not good enough if it's only coming from one specific source for a whole community. Rather than just having a single safety line, we need an entire web of support to support people. So if one organization or one person falls and crumbles and can no longer support everybody else, we have an entire safety net. We have hundreds or thousands of people that can support everybody there. So with that, I will lead us into our final poem I have for you, titled Kingdom of Light. An inferno does not start a blaze, but comes from a kindled coal. This boy was not born to power, but raised a kingdom through his goals. Many heard of riches, tried to take it for their own, arrived with violent threats, and tried to strip us of our gold. They didn't know what we built can't be broken nor stole. No survival of the fittest. We show people how to grow. We don't care about your past. It matters where you're trying to go. In this land, we got each other. Don't you worry about no foes. My friends, you can gain these riches, and you deserve to know this kingdom did not start a blaze, but was raised through kindled souls. And with that, chapter 4, chapter 5, chapter 6, and so on, it continues with you. The pen and the torch is not passed on, but it is shared. You can no longer claim ignorance. We've discussed strategies and challenges that will take us all to address. You will all go out into the world and join communities, create families, lead organizations, building your own kingdoms. As you do so, you will have the opportunity to share your spark and kindle other souls. And as we travel the globe, sharing our light, we will see that glow spread. And in unity, we will create our very own kingdom of light. Everyone in this room has the privilege of being a part of a brotherhood and benefiting from a mentorship that is priceless. It is crucial we recognize the opportunities that present themselves ahead of us, and we pursue them while blazing a trail for others to follow and join along if they so choose to. And with that, I would like to thank you all for your time, your energy, your participation, and I am excited to continue watching and hearing all of the great things that you continue to do in this world. Thank you all for allowing me to speak in my first summit. I appreciate it so much, and y'all enjoy the rest of the day.
Let's stand up and give back a old round of applause. Let's give him a hand. Come on, we can do better, man. Come on. Thank you.